Good afternoon and welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Of course, we had some great coverage earlier as the Prime Minister of Australia met with President Trump. You saw that live coverage with Robert McNeely on the first stream. We're now live for a number of live elements coming up here in this second broadcast, including the Judge Jeanine Pirro, who's going to have a press conference here shortly, scheduled to start right now. So as soon as we see the judge there, we'll go there live. On top of that, we also saw Kristi Noem, the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, hold a press conference earlier. We may have time to get to that prior to the president. And then, of course, the president will be greeting and meeting a great group of people from LSU. Of course, two college baseball teams will be at the White House today, the LSU Tigers and the LSU Shreveport Pilots. Now, who, according to NOLA.com, the Pilots, right? They're the NAIA baseball national champion. They've also been invited to the White House because they had a historic 59-0 season. The Pilots became the first college baseball team to complete an undefeated season. As for the LSU Tigers, this past summer marked the 8th national championship in program history and the second in 3 years. So that will be at the White House. Of course, if there's any questions from the press following that, we'll have that live, just like you saw with the Prime Minister of Australia and the President in the cabinet room there for that bilateral lunch. We'll bring it all to you as it happens here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Meantime, President Trump told reporters recently it's his goal to have crime-free cities across our country. It's great to see the National Guard in D.C. and in Memphis and other regions across the country as crime is way down in places like Memphis, like D.C. The question is, as we see evidence and receipts of the deep state's lawfare over the years, specifically the political crime, will we see justice be fully served there in the court of law? So that's yet another crime we'll see if that's going to be taken care of there with people being held accountable. We'll monitor all of that as there are a few indictments here and there, but we're tracking and covering any story that happens out of Washington, D.C. Also, we may go to the Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, who held that press conference earlier in the day. We also have a live interview lined up a bit later in the broadcast with Tim Graham, the executive editor of Newsbusters. That'll be all about the media's coverage of the No Kings protest. Can you believe that? The videos that we've seen throughout the country, various parts of the country, the numbers are much smaller than some of the people that run No Kings were saying. And then also Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna put out some statistics, easy for me to say, in regards to all of the funding and all the people that have backed all of the groups that were involved in this No Kings protest. It's not representative of the American people, the majority of this country, that according to President Trump on Air Force One. So a lot of news to get to, of course, on this Monday, October 20th. We know that the president will be doing some international travel in the near future. We'll be tracking any of those trips and covering those here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Specifically, this press conference that you're about to see has to do with Edward Korestein, of course, the Doge staffer, regarding the assault against him. So that'll be what this is all about. We're going to hear from the Judge Jeanine Pirro here shortly, as we've been seeing a lot of, again, statistics coming out of D.C., Memphis, and other places as crime continues to go way down, which is awesome to see that. And then if you look at the southern border, things are looking good there too, because we're not seeing anyone cross the southern border because our military, the Customs Border Protection agents, the new wall is continuing to go up there. So a lot of the promises made, promises kept, we're seeing it right now. And as we heard from the conservative analyst and author Tom Renz the other day, also T.S. Dixon over the past few weeks, the people, want to see more and more indictments to those that have tried to subvert the will of the American people, according to Tulsi Gabbard, who said that a few months back. So a lot of stories to talk about, to jump into, and report about here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go to Truth Social and see if the president has posted anything recently. Specifically, she, when it comes to Maria Bartiromo, had an interview with the president just yesterday. And then wasn't it interesting to see that President Trump's posts on truth when it comes to Trump in 2028, 2040, 2044, that Time magazine post that he posts out there, and also the Kings, No Kings or King Trump Air Force jet that was flying over cities over the No Kings protest, of course, the memes and the videos, all interesting times of trolling happening as we cover the commander-in-chief, and it's great to cover someone that is on the right side of history, and we're looking forward to seeing more and more wins. And of course, that indictment list is growing slowly. The people that we've seen so far when it comes to that are John Bolton, Letitia James, James Comey, and nothing yet for Adam Schiff, who yesterday was with Cory Booker at the No Kings rally, and they were doing a selfie video saying, this is what democracy looks like. And interesting, because we're in a constitutional republic, so maybe a constitutional republic looks like what we just saw over the past 3 election cycles, President Trump winning in massive landslides, except for what happened in 2020. So we'll be monitoring all of the latest details here at Right Side Broadcasting Network as we continue to report about God, family, country, and freedom, and our love for all of the above. I was posting a number of things over the weekend in regards to that. And, sometimes it's the simple things or the common sense things that really resonate with all of us. It resonates with myself, my family, friends, people that just met actually just yesterday, talking about just conservative media and the need for more truth and freedom and correcting the false narratives that we see day in and day out from the left-wing press. So the thing that's the situation that we're finding ourselves in is it's a David versus Goliath situation. Goliath is rather big, right? But we know who wins, David, of course. And that's kind of like conservative media right now. There are 90 to 95% of mainstream media is all against God, family, country, the Constitution. We see that. And it's not only in our country, it's around the world. So finding the truth is really what people are searching for out there. And thank God we do have social media platforms like Truth Social, like X, and also like Right Side Broadcasting Network, where we can show everything live. I think that's Judge Janine Pirro right there getting ready to go to the podium. Let's go there live right now here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Plug it in. It is plugged in. That is just to motorize the up and down. Anybody got a hard wire? XLR? How about switch it? Somebody with the house? That fix it or no?
Hey Spence, you ought to be up here.
She wasn't here a moment ago. You can probably hear it in the background.
I can't hear anything.
Oh, okay.
Most days I don't.
It wasn't
It's
here.
probably better for me.
It wasn't here 30
So they
seconds
talk
ago,
about
and
me.
now
It's
all of a
fine.
sudden
Don't
it's
worry
here.
about it.
Thank you all for your patience. We're dealing with an audio issue currently. So.
Tim is going to yell at me.
Yep. Any more slack?
Can you text him?
Yeah, we're texting. Yep.
Thank you for your patience.
Yep. All right. Let's try this. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Sounds good for me. Yeah, good.
Okay. Just gonna have 5 more seconds, please.
Yeah. How are you?
How are you doing?
I'm waiting.
Exciting.
Everybody
I'm
good?
waiting for them to kick the
Okay.
shit out of me today.
Ma'am, whenever you're ready.
Oh, you got it now?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I'm sorry. I told you I don't hear. All right. I want to thank you all for being here today. Today we're going to announce the names of 2 individuals who are being charged with a series of assaults and attempted carjacking in a highly publicized case where 2 young men were brutally assaulted and stomped highlighting the need for accountability among young offenders in the district. This case underscores the escalating challenges that we face in confronting crime in Washington, D.C. On August 3rd of 2025, at about 2:53 a.m. Sunday morning, at the U Street corridor and 14th Street, which is a very popular hangout, a nightlife area, essentially, Ethan Levine, a 22-year-old, and several of his friends were standing outside a Sunoco gas station. They were approached by a large group of teens, individuals who confronted them and began to assault them. Today, we are announcing that Lawrence Cotton Powell, who is 19 years of age, along with Anthony Taylor, who is 18 years of age, are now charged with assaulting Levine. Cotton Powell was stomping on Levine's head, as you can see in this poster to my left. Levine was able to get up momentarily, but the crowd chased him and got him down again. They continued to attack Levine while he was on the ground, and then proceeded to rob him of his sneakers and his watch. The group then, after the robbery and assault of Ethan Levine, they walked in the direction of where another crime occurred within minutes. You have heard of this crime. Edward Korestein, a 19-year-old Doge person who was working in the administration, was walking a young woman to her car when he was approached in the 1400 block of Swan Street Northwest. Approximately 10 suspects approached him, and as they did, he pushed the young woman into the car. And he was protecting her from the group before he was then attacked by multiple suspects, who then punched him repeatedly, causing significant injuries to him. They got him on the ground, and as they were doing so, they demanded the car from the woman who was inside the car and had already locked the car. They were banging on the car, they were pulling the car door, trying to get the car open, and were telling the woman in the car to hand over the keys. And the woman was, as I said, able to lock the car door, so they were unable to gain entry. And it was fortuitous that someone from the Metropolitan Police Department was on patrol. He happened to pull onto the block, and he witnessed the suspects actually assaulting Korestein, who was on the ground lying next to the car. The juveniles fled, but within a short period of time, two 15-year-olds were arrested, and they were taken into the family court by the Attorney General's office. That is the local Attorney General's office. Now, I think what's significant about this case is the history of Lawrence Cotton Powell. I want you to follow me on this. Lawrence Cotton Powell is 19 years of age. He's now charged with robbery, first-degree robbery, for which he faces 15 years in prison. He also faces a charge of assault with intent to commit robbery and another 15 years. And robbery for Edward Korestein, 15 years. Assault with intent to commit robbery, another 15 years. And attempted carjacking, 5 years. Now, let me tell you his background. On April 3rd of this year, Lawrence Cotton Powell was sentenced for a felony attempted robbery. My office asked for jail time. Judge McLean, a judge sitting in the criminal part in Superior Court with no criminal background, made a decision to give Cotton Powell probation in spite of his conviction on a felony attempted robbery. Within 31 days, by May 4th, Powell reoffends. He's rearrested while he's on probation from the felony, and he's charged with simple assault and possession of a prohibited weapon B. On May 4th, my office asked that probation be revoked. But on May 16th, that same Judge McLean comes back and releases Cotton Powell and tells him basically, be a good boy. On July 24th, He is sentenced to one of the 2 misdemeanors that he's charged with. Again, my office asked for jail time after he victimized yet another person. And on July 25th, another judge suspends his sentence and decides that he should be on probation. So after a felony of attempted robbery conviction, after a violation of probation, after a second crime, after a second conviction, after no compliance with C. Sosa, the judges say do better and they let him go. And guess what? Within 10 days, he's at it again with Ethan Levine and Edward Korstein. Now, the co-defendant in this case is an individual by the name of Anthony Taylor. He charged also with the same arrest. He is with the same crimes. He is from Maryland. He is 18 years old. We are unaware of any history as it relates to him. I want to thank the Metropolitan Police Department. I want to thank the fact that this department went above and beyond and worked incredibly hard with the little evidence that we had to identify 2 of the perpetrators that we're going to be able to prosecute in criminal court. And I want to mention and thank the chief, and I also want to thank Mayor Bowser for her assistance in helping us. This is a coordinated effort by all of us. I also want to thank the marshals who are here, and they'll be speaking to you in a minute. But I again urge the D.C. Council to reconsider those trilogy of laws that allow Washington, D.C. to allow these young people to go out and victimize, re-victimize, and keep re-victimizing and putting the safety of the citizens who live, work, and visit here at risk. And I ask them to stand up finally and send a clear message, because the people of this district deserve no less than safety. So I want to call upon the police chief, Pamela Smith, to say a few words.
All right. Thank you, Judge Pirro. Good afternoon. I'm Pamela A. Smith, Chief of Police for the Metropolitan Police Department. I'm joined today by Commander Kevin Kentish of our Criminal Investigations Division and Detective Thomas O'Donnell of the Carjacking Task Force. The Metropolitan Police Department is proud to stand alongside our partners at the United States Attorney's Office and the United States Marshal Service in announcing 2 additional arrests in the attempted carjacking of Mr. Edward Korstein. This is the latest example of the continuous partnerships between our agencies and our collective community commitment to removing individuals who harm our communities out of our community. It is because of the swift response of our officers, 2 suspects were immediately arrested after the offense occurred. Since the morning of August 3rd, detectives assigned to the Metropolitan Police Department Carjacking Task Force have worked tirelessly with all of our partners to identify and apprehend the 2 outstanding suspects. Just minutes before the attempted carjacking on Swan Street, both of these suspects were involved in a robbery just a few blocks away from U Street. This behavior is indicative of what we see time and time again. A small group of suspects committed a series of violent crime offenses in a very short period of time. These arrests send a very strong message to our community. If you commit violent acts in our community, you will be found, you will be held accountable, and you will face justice. Together, we will continue to work tirelessly to ensure our neighbors and our communities that you remain safe and that those who threaten the safety will be held accountable. I'd also like to thank Judge Pirro and her team for working alongside the Metropolitan Police Department for getting this case to where it is today. I'd also like to thank Mayor Muriel Bowser, who has also been very, very supportive of public safety in this city. And since I've been in this space as the chief, she has certainly been a strong supporter and an advocate for what we need to do in this city to drive down crime. And lastly, the members of the Metropolitan Police Department, the Carjacking Task Force, and our detectives who every single day go out there and investigate those crimes to ensure that our citizens and our communities feel safe. Thank you so much. And I'll turn it back over to Judge Pirro.
All right, and now I'd like to call Don Schneider up from the U.S. Marshals.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chief Inspector Don Snyder. I am the commander of the Capital Area Regional Fugitive Task Force with the United States Marshal Service. I also have Superior Court United States Marshal Tony Dixon with me. The mission of the Cardiff is to reduce violent crime and enhance public safety through the investigation and apprehension of violent fugitives. So fugitive investigations can be complex and are often inherently dangerous. Deputy U.S. Marshals and law enforcement officers across the country place the communities they serve before themselves when investigating and apprehending violent fugitives. Ensuring the service of justice for citizen victims can be extremely costly. We work closely at the Cardiff in D.C. with the Metropolitan Police Department. Our partnership is strong. It is the case in this investigation. So in the fugitive business, we regularly ask ourselves two very important questions. How do we manage risk to the community, to law enforcement, and to the offender when attempting to conduct a safe arrest operation? And how does law enforcement with limited resources and personnel best mitigate the risk of violent crime in our communities? So through high-quality constitutional law enforcement, strong investigations and prosecutions, righteous convictions, and sentences of consequence, holistic mitigation of violence also requires organizations in the community to provide opportunities for growth and positive engagement with families and our youth. Over the past 75 days, the D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force has arrested over 4,700 offenders, seizing over 460 illicit firearms during these arrests. Violent crime is down across the city. Our mission at the D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force is to end crime in America's capital, making it the safest city in the nation. Law enforcement and National Guard are doing our best to do our part. Now we need everybody to come together and work together to eliminate violence in the district for good and provide families and our youth with opportunities to thrive. The D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force is an absolutely wonderful thing. It's the greatest partnership in modern history of law enforcement and National Guard coming together to make a community safe. And we are here to stay. It's one badge, one fight, make D.C. the safest and most beautiful city in America, where citizens of all D.C. communities are provided with the unlimited opportunity to thrive. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Robert Tony Dixon. I'm the United States Marshal for the Superior Court here in the District of Columbia. As you've heard said, first of all, let me thank Judge Pirro, United States Attorney Pirro. I want to thank Chief of Police Pamela Smith and all of her colleagues. And I also want to thank Mayor Bowser for the continued cooperation and collaboration that we have in partnerships to address these types of matters. As you've seen and as you have heard, this effort is indicative of what can happen and what does happen when we collaboratively interact to bring justice in the District of Columbia. That said, we can do it better with the assistance of the community. And with that in mind, I implore and I invite the community to assist us in our efforts, our collaborative efforts, to make this a safer and a more unified and peaceful city. We can do it with your help, and only with your help can it be as successful as possible. That said, I want to thank you all for what you have done and continue to do. I want to thank the colleagues here. And again, I want to thank the U.S. Attorney's Office and our collaborative relationship with the Metropolitan Police. Thank you.
Okay. And with respect to the cooperative, collaborative relationship, I think you all know that this is something that President Trump brought to the district in his desire to make D.C. safe and beautiful. The number of arrests, the number of convictions, the number of charges are all reflective of a cooperative effort, and they're making a difference in the district. Now, any questions? Yes.
Hi there, Olivia George with the Washington Post. Thanks for having us. You mentioned that this 18 and 19-year-old and the two 15-year-olds that were sentenced last week were part of a larger group.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you've identified any of the other individuals, and if so, how old they are and when we could expect them to be others.
Well, I'm glad you asked the question. The investigation is continuing. We continue to take these cases and move it forward. We're not going to be happy until we get every person who was involved in the assault on these two individuals, and we continue to do that. Make no mistake that that is a priority for everyone who's standing behind me right now. Two of the 15-year-olds, as you know, have been released. Their case is closed. Our case has been put over for a preliminary hearing, I believe, I believe it's November 6th. But we expect that there will be more who will be identified and arrested. I think that what you can see here, these two defendants here are stomping on Edward Levine. You can see that there is a sneaker there. They're taking his shoes from him. And this was what Edward Cortisine looked like. These are severe beatings with some severe injuries, hospitalizations by both victims. And the most stunning part of all this is they happened within minutes of each other. And we know that this same group moved from one assault to the next assault. And we are continuing to investigate with these phenomenal investigators in police department to find out where they went next. And we will. Of that, I have no question.
Chief, you said that these arrests are evidence that these individuals will be held accountable and will face justice. Your officers repeatedly arrested this individual, gave the evidence to the prosecutor's office that used it to repeatedly ask that he be detained, and then he reoffended multiple times. Is that being held accountable? And is there frustration among law enforcement that they're not being held accountable despite your office's repeated efforts to provide the necessary evidence to your office?
When you say that he reoffended at what point?
Well, the misdemeanor in May, that he reoffended while he was out.
But the chief is not responsible for what judges do.
No, that's what I'm asking. Is there frustration that there's not accountability despite the effort your officers continue to put in?
Let me say this. I think everyone in this room knows the amount of times we have rearrested the same individuals over and over and over again. Today's message is not new. Of course, it's frustrating for my police officers. Every single day, the expectation of this city is that they go out and police, right? And then when they keep arresting the same individuals over and over and over again, it's offensive to me. I have to sit through crime briefings Monday through Friday. We see some of the same faces over and over and over again. And when I talk about the accountability piece, that is certainly in partnership with our U.S. Attorney's Office. Make no mistake about it. Judge Pirro, as we present these cases, her office is working collaboratively with us, and she is doing what we have expected the process to do when it comes to our criminal justice system. And that is when we arrest individuals for violent crimes, that they are presented in court and that they are held accountable. When it comes to that piece, of course, I'm not a judge and I'm certainly not an attorney, but I do applaud our officers who continue every single day in this same effort. But there has to be some kind of relief, and there has to be a clear message to members and community that we're not going to continue to tolerate this. And there has to be a juvenile justice system and a justice system that are going to hold these folks accountable.
Do you back the judge's request to the council that they rescind those 3 particular pieces of legislation?
Now you know I'm not a politician,
Well,
and my position as the chief of police is to always to remain apolitical. Any legislation that is proposed by Mayor Bowser, clearly I support the mayor's presentation to the council. In collaboration with the mayor, there are things that my office presents to the mayor and team with respect to what we'd like to see with regards to legislation that will help our officers police safer in our city.
Chief, I just read the charging document for Taylor. It's 23 pages long and very extensive and shows multiple pictures of the beatings. But what's extraordinary is that Taylor was arrested hours after Ornstein was beat up.
Mm-hmm.
And his photo was taken. And that seems to have been the key to the case here. I don't know if Commander Candish wants to talk about it, but how long did it take to connect Taylor with that photograph of that arrest, with all of the surveillance photos that you had and video that you had, to finally, because it looks to me as if it was his clothing and his face, obviously, that connected the dots.
And Paul, I appreciate you for asking that question. As you know, all of that is a part of the investigation, and that's what the judge and her team will present in court, the timeline and how those things panned out.
Can you talk
Well, I think the detectives have done an extensive work. I think Judge Pirro has said they've worked tirelessly. I've said they have worked tirelessly. And in the question that the Washington Post reporter asked was that, are there others? We will continue to work and throw everything that we have at this particular, in all of our cases. This isn't just as you notice, we have this case, we have that case. They're working this entire case.
Yes.
Laura Brown Lopez with MSNBC. You're charging the individuals with carjacking, correct? That's part of the charges?
Yes.
And so
Attempted carjacking.
Thank you. But President Trump said last week that he was disappointed that you were disappointed with the sentencing of the other individuals that
Of the 15-year-olds by the family court? Well, without even asking you to be specific, we have long believed that it's time to lower the age of criminal responsibility. It's time that we get 15-year-olds who are part of this gang into the criminal justice system so that we have a record of who they are. So we start to incarcerate them. This is a problem. They go to family court, they get released, and then they get probation, and that's the end of it. How many times they go through there before I get to them is amazing. If you could look, and I'm not talking about this case, if you could look at the history of a lot of these offenders, when I first get them, how many times they've been in family court, you would be furious, as I am most days. I bring charges that are consistent with the evidence, the facts, and the law. It's not about being disappointed. I mean, I only go as far as the law allows me to go. And it's attempted carjacking. They didn't get the car. She was in the vehicle. She didn't give them the keys. They weren't able to get in. But, I mean, this is an attempt robbery 1. Along with the assault in pursuance of a robbery. I mean, this is assault with the intent to commit a robbery. These are serious crimes, 15 years for each.
Related to this, last week, did you fire a prosecutor in your office, Liz Alloy, and did it have anything to do with the Ed Forrest case?
I don't talk about personnel issues in a press conference. What else?
Tell us where these two are. I know Taylor went through court, Superior Court already. When was Taylor arrested, and where is Powell? Is he in Maryland?
No, they're both, where are they? They're both detained. They're in. They are now residents of the taxpayers.
When were they arrested?
Where are they arrested? Friday?
Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, Friday and Saturday. Okay?
Where they were arrested? Maryland?
Thursday and Friday.
One was arrested in Maryland. The one who lives in Maryland. So we had to go across state lines to get him. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Can I ask an off-topic question?
No. Thank you.
She did. She usually does.
All right, there from Washington, D.C., of course, Judge Jeanine Pirro speaking about a case there, of course, that involved a Doge worker. And, you know, at the end of the day, what we keep seeing is that the cashless bail situation. But that's, of course, what President Trump, with that executive order, put a stop to. But quite the press conference there. Speaking of press conferences in Atlanta right now at the airport, there has been a crisis diverted there, according to numerous reports. The guy that was there apparently had an AR-15 in his vehicle and threatened on a FaceTime to his family that he was going to go and shoot up the airport. Well, the press conference happening right now in Atlanta is revealing that that person has been arrested. That person's facing terroristic threat charges. A huge crisis diverted in Atlanta, which is the busiest airport on planet Earth, which is many passengers, of course, go through that airport, as some of you guys know that fly in and out of Atlanta or have flown there before. So again, crisis diverted in Atlanta, Georgia. Meantime, let's go to some other news as we're tracking a lot of different stories right now. Let's go with specifically what we're going to see at 4 o'clock here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We know that at about 4 o'clock, the president is hosting 2 college baseball teams at the White House, the LSU Tigers and the LSU Shreveport Pilots. Now, according to NOLA.com, the Pilots baseball team, this is an NAIA baseball national champion team that went 59-0 during their past season. which is historic. The Pilots became the first college baseball team to complete an undefeated season. And as for the LSU Tigers, this past summer marked the 8th national championship in program history and the 2nd in 3 years. So will we see the president answer any questions after this one? We don't know. We know that we did see that, of course, in its entirety during that first live stream broadcast when the president greeted the Prime Minister of Australia, and then a lot of Q&A from the reporters and the president. And also, that's on the heels of just the Air Force One press gaggle as the president flew home from Florida to Joint Base Andrews and then back to the White House just yesterday. So we'll see what happens. We'll be live here for it, and glad you're with us as we track all the news that's going on out there, especially national breaking news like that crisis diverted in Atlanta. Specifically, let's go to a couple of new videos out there from social media when it comes to the U.S. Coast Guard, when it comes to the U.S. Department of Energy. And then we'll go to a press conference with the Department of Homeland Security as we have an interview lined up in about 15 minutes from now, so we can get some of that done before we go to the live interview to talk about the No Kings protests from yesterday and how the mainstream media decided to cover it all. We'll get to that in just a minute. Let's go now to the U.S. Coast Guard and what it's like along the border. You think about the Coast Guard, you think, well, hey, those guys are out there on the open sea, right? And it's why would they be along the border? Well, the Rio Grande, of course, or the Rio Grande, as they call it. The Coast Guard's down there, too. So let's take a look at that video right now. All right, so the Coast Guard, of course, helping out with the rest of the military branches and also Customs, Border Protection, and other law enforcement along the southern border. Always good to see what our different branches, agencies are up to. Let's do that again when it comes to another agency. The U.S. Department of Energy is being affected by this government shutdown. Of course, the good old Schumer shutdown. Let's take a look at that video.
In Las Vegas right now, soon to head up to the Nevada National Security sites. This is key for our national security and all the interest we have here. Today, workers are being furloughed. Today, the federal government employees. We're working hard to protect everyone's jobs, keep people employed, and keep our national stockpile secure and our things moving forward. But a tough day today. Thank you.
All right, so we started out with the United States Coast Guard, then to the Department of Energy, now to the Department of Homeland Security. An update from the secretary there, Kristi Noem. She held a press conference a bit earlier in the day. We're going to play that for about 12 minutes or so, and then we'll bring in our live guest at about 3:50 Eastern. This as we await President Trump there at the White House, of course, welcoming two baseball teams, the LSU Tigers and the LSU Shreveport Pilots, who went 59-0 in their last season. Pretty remarkable, including the fact that that has never happened in college baseball history. So it'll be great to hear from the president as we are tracking all sorts of stories right now. Of course, on the heels of this so-called No Kings protest yesterday, we'll have that live interview coming up with someone from the Newsbusters organization, of course, a great agency that always is revealing what's happening out there with the liberal bias of the mainstream media. But in the meantime, let's go to the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem.
Good morning. It's good to see all of you. Thank you for being here. I'm Kristi Noem. I'm the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, and it's wonderful to be with all of you today and give you an update of not just what the work that President Trump is conducting across the country to make families and their communities safer, but also what this office in particular has focused on, the results that they have delivered, but then also what the state of Florida and the partnerships that they have brought to the federal government as far as incarcerating criminal, illegal aliens and bringing them to justice. Today marks 9 months since President Trump has been in office, and since he began his work to restore American safety for our families that live here. What he has accomplished for the American people is nothing short of extraordinary. We appreciate what he has done to make us safe again, to secure our borders, and to make sure that he's protecting our people. Since January, the Department of Homeland Security has arrested over 480,000 criminal illegal aliens. 70% of those individuals have criminal charges against them or have been convicted of those criminal charges. Across the country, we're making communities safer so that families can thrive and they can prosper and they can enjoy the kind of freedom that this country was established to provide. Unfortunately, many times we see the news distorting the truth and not bringing the real facts of the stories to the American people, and that is one of the reasons why we're here today, is to make sure that we're focused on what this office has done, our HSI officers, our ICE officers, the criminals that they've taken off the streets here in this city and also this state, and what we can do to get many of these items like you see on the table in front of me out of our communities. You see in front of us illegal rifles, handguns. You see drugs that have been taken off of our streets that are saving the lives of Americans every single day. I want to speak directly to the American people today and remind them and recall the fact that we are focused on the worst of the worst, bringing these individuals to justice. We're not going to let individuals terrorize our streets anymore, and we're not going to let them make victims out of families that live in this country. I'll give you some examples of individuals that were brought to justice here in Sarasota and in this area. The first one I'll talk about is a convicted murderer whose name is Eric Carlos Artiles Ramos, an illegal alien who was from Cuba. He had a prior removal order in 2008, and now because of the work of this office, he is off the streets. He was also previously convicted of kidnapping and carjacking. We also have another individual, Oscar Alfredo Retena Marroquin, an illegal alien from El Salvador. He was convicted of sexual assault against a child and in 1995, and he was also arrested for DUI. He has been deported twice before, in 1999 and in 2019. Reentry after deportation, I'll remind all of you, is a felony. The next individual is Arturo Sanchez Morales. He's an illegal alien from Mexico. He was arrested for driving drunk, and he's already been deported once before. He re-entered, which is a felony, and was issued a final order of removal in 2016. He had previously been arrested for burglary as well, for possession of cocaine and larceny, and has convictions for multiple DUIs and lewd acts against a minor. And again, I'll talk about Leilis Ronaldo Benaro Zarin, who is an individual from Honduras who's been in this country illegally, and he has a conviction for domestic battery. He'd been deported twice before, in 2011 and in 2017. These individuals are just a handful of people that have been in this country creating victims out of American citizens that now those families do no longer have to worry about. Not only have they been brought into and incarcerated, but they're going to be brought to justice and pay for the crimes that they've committed. Every single day, our law enforcement officers put their lives at risk to protect the American people. Every single day, they get up and they go do their jobs to make sure that American families can live the lives that they've dreamed of since they were young. The left's anti-cop rhetoric has led to a 1,000% increase in violence against our law enforcement officers. We have to stop the rhetoric that is allowing individuals the cover that they want to perpetuate violence against those who enforce our laws. Last month, we had an individual open fire at an ICE facility, and we also saw victims from that attack that happened, not just against ICE agents, but also about detainees that were there at that facility. That individual, when he fired upon the building, created some victims. We lost 2 lives there. 3 individuals were hurt, and 2 died later on after that event. The suspect had anti-ICE written on the ammunition and on his bullet casings, proving that he had targeted against individuals that were working to keep our streets safe. Criminals are now even placing bounties on our law enforcement officers. This last month, the Department of Homeland Security arrested a criminal illegal alien and a Latin Kings gang member who placed a bounty on our U.S. Border Patrol Chief Greg Bovino. Still, they keep pressing on, and we've seen as well individuals on TikTok and other apps making threats against our law enforcement officers, putting bounties out on their head, and we will bring all of those individuals to justice. We will continue to bring murderers and rapists, those who perpetuate violence, pedophiles, gang members in our communities. We will go after them, bring them to justice, and we will save lives. The American people see this, and they see that President Trump is focused on making sure that our streets are safe and that our families have opportunities to raise their children in safe communities. In fact, recent polls have shown that 54% of Americans want illegals to be brought into justice, and they want to deport those who are in this country illegally. But 78% of Americans want these criminal illegal aliens brought to justice. That's because the American people understand the benefits of having law and order again. They understand the benefit of having a leader that focuses on making sure that we are a nation of borders, but we're a nation of laws, and those laws are enforced. To the brave men and women of ICE and HSI and the law enforcement that are partnering with us, thank you. Thank you for all that you do to protect our country. Thank you for risking your lives for the American people and being willing to go out and stand for what is right, stand for law and order. And the American people are extremely grateful for that. To everyone else out there, I would ask you to please thank a law enforcement officer if you see them today. Cook them a meal for their family, support them, give them a word of encouragement. It's been 9 months since President Trump has been in office, and he's made an incredible difference for the American people. Let's make sure that those individuals who go out every single day and keep our streets safe, that they get the opportunity to be thanked for that as well. And with that, I will open it up for any questions that you may have. Yes?
Thank you so much for coming. I understand that ICE is working with local law enforcement agencies, including Florida Highway Patrol, to carry out much of its enforcement, and that a lot of, at least here in Florida, a lot of the arrests are being made through picking up these folks for traffic infractions, for example, holding them in jail. Can you talk about that partnership and how information is communicated between local law enforcement and ICE?
Well, it's been fantastic to see the partnerships that we've had here in Florida, in this community, but also throughout the entire state. We have a program called 287G, which allows local law enforcement agencies to partner with us on enforcement activities. And that has been very beneficial to making sure that we're out there working together, cooperative, bringing people to justice, and then making those law enforcement officers involved in helping keep their communities safe as well. And we're grateful for that. Florida has been, I think, the state that has provided the most law enforcement agreements under the 287G than any other state, and it shows that they recognize the importance of bringing individuals to justice that have convicted crimes against the people that live in their communities, but also ways that we can support our federal government in the work that we do as well, as far as enforcing our immigration laws, but also making sure that these dangerous terrorists and criminals and gang members are brought to justice and removed out of our country. Yes.
Why do you feel it's necessary to come all the way to Sarasota, Florida, to make these announcements today? Considering this is just 4 of many arrests going on nationwide, and why specifically Sarasota versus going to Chicago or Portland?
Well, I've been to Chicago. And I've been to Portland and focused on supporting those law enforcement officers and operations there. I'm in Sarasota today because people don't get to hear the media cover these individuals that have been removed off of the streets, the good work that law enforcement officers have already done. Many times when I turn on the news and listen to the networks, they're not covering the victims anymore that we've lost because of these crimes. They're not covering the individuals that have been brought to justice. Instead, they're trying to demonize our law enforcement officers. So to talk about these individuals that have been taken off the streets and show how much safer the American people are, we can show that that work can continue. These individuals that I spoke about today are not on the streets creating more victims. There's still individuals out there, though, that we need to bring to justice. And this is a reminder of the work that we do, but that we need to continue that work and let these law enforcement officers know that they're appreciated.
To maximize your investment in the time to come to Florida, you meet with, say, the sheriffs here who signed up with the program you just mentioned. Also, we're not very far from alligator alcatraz or deportation
I have been to Alligator Alcatraz. I have visited it. I have not seen Deportation Depot yet, but we're grateful for those partnerships with the state of Florida. That has helped us with detainment centers that will allow us to host these individuals until their due process is finished and they can be removed from our country. So we're grateful for that. In fact, Alligator Alcatraz was the first project that we had with the state as far as putting together these beds, and we've had several other states now that have shared these agreements with us as well. So in Indiana, Nebraska, other states that have partnered, and will continue to do that because it's more efficient for the taxpayers, but it also meets the needs that we have for bed space until individuals can be removed.
All right, so that was Kristi Noem from Sarasota, Florida, earlier today, talking about what the men and women of law enforcement are up to there. And, you know, if you caught the one question from one of the reporters, that's the Tampa Bay market, pretty sizable market there in Tampa Bay, asking, you know, why are you here in Sarasota delivering this information? And she says, well, I've been to Chicago, I've been to Portland. And the unfortunate truth is that the media doesn't cover these kind of stories. You know, mainstream media doesn't. Of course, we do on the right side of history and conservative media. I think now's a good time to bring in Tim Graham, the executive editor for Newsbusters, to talk about this and other things like the No Kings protest. Tim, thanks so much for joining us on Right Side.
Sure.
So just that point there with Kristi Noem saying, hey, we're in this market, in the Tampa Bay market, talking about this because probably the Tampa Bay local stations are not even conservative and on the left side of history. Do you agree?
Sure. I mean, we focus on the national media, but I'm sure you do get the same thing at a lot of local TV stations and local newspapers. And the funniest part about all of this is that if you don't accept the narrative that all of these liberal outlets are pushing, then you're an uneducated Republican. You're reading all the wrong websites and
Right.
watching the wrong TV.
It's so true. And unfortunately, what, 90% of media, it seems, is leftist. I mean, do you agree with that in this country, around the world? I mean, you're talking about all the online, all of the magazines, TV, radio. Would you say it's that high of a percentage?
I'm not sure it's that high, but we certainly know when we talk about in America the dominant media, or the media that's been dominant for 50 or 60 years, we're going to think of all the alphabet networks and like the New York Times and the Washington Post. But, you know, look, since the mid-90s, we've had the internet, we've had the emergence of conservative television and radio and websites. So they're losing their grip. So when they lose their grip, then everybody who's walked away is uneducated. But you know, this is what we like to do at Newsbusters, is just basically say, here's what you missed. You didn't have to watch it. We'll just tell you what you missed.
Yeah, exactly. And you guys do such a great job with that. You know, thank God for the great Rush Limbaugh, the late Rush Limbaugh, and Andrew Breitbart, and all those great pioneers of conservative media. And then it was great to see President Trump call out the fake news. That probably made your guys' job a bit easier, too, to really be like, hey, that's a good point right there. And but let's just talk about the No Kings protest. I mean, did you see the video? I think, is it MSNBC that showed a so-called Boston video, which was from some 2017 huge event? And they said this was in Boston, all these people for No Kings, and it wasn't even close to that?
Yeah, I'm not sure about which video is authentic. I think we can guess that they had a decent turnout in Boston, but the real point of this is, so what, right? I mean, yeah, was Boston a hot market for Trump? You know, I mean, this is what's so funny, is that they say, wow, the people have turned out. Yeah, who turned out? All the people who lost the last time we had a real election. So, I mean, to me, it's like this is the kind of protest that you make so that MSNBC and CNN viewers have something to be happy about. But it really doesn't represent the will of the people. It certainly doesn't represent a majority of the people. It represents a fraction of the people who decided to turn out. And if you look at the video, what you see is a lot of white retirees. So is that representative of the people? That's what they want you to think.
Exactly. It's a great point. I mean, I saw a list from Ana Paulina Luna, the great congresswoman out of Florida. She talked about all of the different groups that were involved in No Kings and all of the different people that backed them, funded them. And it really wasn't. To your point, President Trump said the same thing. This isn't representative of the people. So we see what happened yesterday. Isn't it just more of the same from the left?
Sure, but this is the thing. When the conservatives have protests like the Tea Party movement, they would always tell you it's astroturf, it's not real, or they're all delusional and misled. And here in this case, they won't even identify when they do these stories. We counted 18 minutes on Saturday night on CBS, NBC, PBS, and NPR. Those are the national ones that had newscasts. 18 minutes. And they never once described them as leftist, liberal, progressive, socialist, whatever. And yeah, they're not going to tell you who organized it. They'll just say, organizers say millions of people came, without telling you who sent the money and what was the intention. It was to get these pictures and give you the impression that President Trump is wildly unpopular. Do you know who's more unpopular than the president? Democrats. You know, and that's what they none of them said that in their stories on the protests, you know. So this is what Democrat news looks like.
Exactly. Let's talk about that. The swaying of public opinion. And we've spoken about this topic a few times at the network, but it's always good to keep it fresh, because isn't that the point of what's going on? When you think of a propaganda, network, it's all about public opinion, because it gets people to think a certain way, then vote a certain way, then steer a country a certain way. Isn't that right?
Sure. And there, again, there's a lot of tactics. I mentioned the lack of labels. We didn't see any speakers. A bunch of these No Kings rallies had speakers. They certainly did in D.C. with Senator Bernie Sanders, extreme socialist. Because again, if you start showing those people, then, Adam Schiff holding his megaphone, then it looks partisan and ideological, and we don't want it to look like that. Well, again, you can see just reading the signs from these people, impeachtrumpagain.com, I think we get an idea. Who hates democracy? These people can't seem to accept there's a president who was elected and they want to remove him immediately because somehow they think he's a dictatorial threat. Well, the people voted for this man. He won the election. It's too bad you can't accept it.
It's so true. And he's won pretty much 3 straight elections. We know what happened in 2020. But the point is, outside of that, it's the massive majority of the country, common sense, good-hearted people that love God, family, country, and freedom, right?
Well, I mean, these elections have been narrow. If you look at the raw numbers, I mean, you can absolutely say that the media really rigged it in 2020, the way they said Hunter Biden's laptop isn't real, COVID didn't come from a Chinese lab, all of the stuff that they shoved down our throats. What's amazing to me is here they are, they're saying, we had a No Kings rally. We're against authoritarianism. And I'm like, what was 2020? But a lot of authoritarianism. You can't go to school. You can't open your business. If you don't get the vaccine, you get fired. I mean, where were these people about democracy and freedom in 2020? We know where they were.
And then all of the censorship. I mean, that can go on. We could talk for hours once we get into that groove of that conversation. I mean, it's projecting, isn't it? Aren't they just projecting? They're saying, oh, we don't want kings. But deep inside, they're like, oh, I wish Gavin Newsom would be the king of everything and be a dictator and a communist and technocrat, right?
Well, there was somebody showed me, Dino Badala wrote, who's a ridiculous leftist, wrote a piece about liberals want a king. Because, yes, people don't like the mess of a democracy that we have filibuster. Trump is facing all these unelected judges trying to ruin everything he's doing. It's like unelected judges, that's somehow not authoritarianism. That's somehow democracy. So, I mean, it's kind of befuddling where these judges are so arrogant, where they basically say, well, all the ICE people have to wear body cameras. So say I, Mr. Judge. Who appointed this person? And then usually it's Obama or Biden.
Yeah, that's exactly what we've been seeing here at the network as well. And it's just, it's tough to see it. And that's why we talk about it. And that's why we have the people are fed up with the old school of politics. That's why President Trump is so popular and was so popular in 2016. Your thoughts about the midterms coming up? Do you think that really, if the Democrats got Congress somehow, that they would just impeach Trump? I've heard that talking point a lot. I tend to agree with that. Obviously, I hope that we win the midterms, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, based on past experience, we've already had two. Here again, at the No Kings rally, they're carrying around the signs that says impeach Trump again. I don't even think they're satisfied with impeachment. It's too slow. They just want him removed and put in jail. And this is where you're like, which side of us is the authoritarians? I don't know. I think it's really fun right now. Democrats have real reasons to be concerned when they look at about how they're doing in the polls right now. And I guess we'll see here in a couple of weeks how these off-year elections go. Now, always the presumption is the party that's out of power, party who's not in the White House, is going to do well in the midterms. That's certainly what happened in 2018 under Trump. But everything's really different this time around. So I think, yeah, the Democrats have got to be going into 2026 being really nervous. And the Democrats are all split and divided. But guess who won't tell you that? The media. They don't want to spotlight their own internal fights.
Exactly. I mean, they are just, of course, the Democrats always carrying water. The media is for those leftist talking points. As it's 4 o'clock Eastern time, this is Tim Graham with Newsbusters. We're awaiting President Trump from the White House, greeting a couple of the LSU baseball teams. We'll have that in just a second. Tim, thanks again for joining us right now. Your thoughts of just the inception, of conservative media years ago, but now it's growing and growing and growing. How is that beneficial to the American people?
Well, I started here at the Media Research Center in 1989, was, almost the same time that Rush Limbaugh emerged. And then, of course, we got some Fox News in 96, but a lot of the internet in the mid 90s. And the main reason that the liberals hate it is it's like because conservative media will say, well, here's what they're not telling you, or here's the story they're not showing you. Here's where they don't want you to hear about Lake and Riley being raped and murdered by an illegal alien. And they get really unhappy. They don't want to tell you that their hero, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, is a wife beater and a human trafficker. And they get really mad because it's like, who's letting them have this other information? Again, the conservatives are like, just let us compete on the playing field of information. And they're just running around saying, unless it's our information, it's got to be misinformation. And that's not ultimately a free country. It's like, no, we're going to have a diversity of sources and let the people choose.
Exactly. It is an info war, as we know with Alex Jones. It's called InfoWars. I mean, it's a great title, but when you look at truth versus lies out there, and hearing from conservative media, it seems as if the people are saying, you know what, I want to resonate with someone on the truth side of things. People that are common sense Americans, speaking from the heart, not always reading a teleprompter written, of course, produced by some leftists out there. The fact that you've been with MRC since 1989 and you see us here in 2025, we've come a long way when it comes to from the great Rush Limbaugh. He's the one that started it all. To this point and on. So I guess my point is, how much more will the ratings go down with the leftist media and start to increase in conservative sides?
Well, again, the latest Gallup poll showed an all-time low for people who trust the so-called mainstream media. We're down now to 28%. A large chunk of most Republicans and a large chunk of independents are like, I don't trust these people because the fact of the matter is they're not in the mainstream and they're not objective. They're not trying in any way to give you a balanced diet of information. They're out there to spew talking points and try to persuade you with propagandistic coverage. So, I mean, I think this pattern continues. And I think we saw that in the 2024 elections where they're all upset. The people are watching podcasts. They're watching Trump do a 2-hour podcast with a comedian. They're all upset about it because they really want to put him on 60 Minutes where somebody yells at him for an hour.
And they also edit everything. It's just a recorded sit down and President Trump says all of these things, but then they cut that edit and they put in another sound. It's just a bunch of BS anyway. Your thoughts just about the indictments that are coming in. You know, they're trickling in. There are people out there that are saying we should go faster. President Trump talked about it the other day. What's your personal thought on the James Comeys, Letitia James, and others?
Well, I mean, we don't know exactly how this is going to turn out, but they are already, for us, an amazing exhibit in media bias, because Comey was a hero to the liberal media. You know, Comey got a big prime time special with George Stephanopoulos on ABC. Letitia James was a hero. She was wonderful. And, you know, these people are never described as Democrats. Letitia James was an elected Democrat, elected on a promise to take down King Trump, you know, and they presented her like she was objective and nonpartisan, which is ludicrous. And then John Bolton, you got to see these clips, find them on YouTube, where John Bolton says, Trump's an idiot. He doesn't know you can't walk off with classified documents. So I think the conventional wisdom now is that Bolton's indictment is more serious. He's in more trouble. But we can see the media bias in all of these, that they think all of them are terrible when they loved every indictment of Trump or one of Trump's aides or supporters.
That's such a great point. And I think that's what people are saying. We want to see more of the indictments, not because it's just some political witch hunt. It's actually because there's actual evidence and receipts of wrongdoing. Tulsi Gabbard said just a few months ago that the 2020 election, it was subverted. The American people's will was subverted of that election. They're talking about the Crossfire Hurricane and others, James Comey and all. So there's a lot to be looked at there. Tim Graham with the Media Research Center and Newsbusters. Thanks for what you guys do over there. Really just showing everyone, hey, the left-wing media, again, doing something wrong. And I like how you guys have all the specific numbers and the stats. Are there any other fascinating stats before I let you go with just things that have really floored you over the past year or so?
Well, a lot of times we're tracking things they don't want to cover. So, you know, one of the things we're following now is Jay Jones sending these awful texts saying that he wants to put 2 bullets in his Republican House Speaker here in Virginia. They've tried very hard not to touch that whatsoever. And then sometimes we've been showing the tilt at like PBS and NPR, who tried to say that they were fair and balanced. When you look at their actual guests, we found the NPR slant over 2 months was 53 liberals to 3 conservatives. I mean, that's the real NPR. This is why we fought to have these networks, you know, have their federal funding taken away, because they're not fair and balanced in any way, shape, or form.
Exactly. Tim Graham, thank you again for joining us here on Right Side.
You bet.
Awesome to hear from people that are just studying each of the liberal outlets out there and seeing every little part of it where the left wing is always, you know, bringing that false narrative to mess up the public opinion, you know. All right, let's shift gears. We are awaiting President Trump there at the White House. In the meantime, the Secretary of Energy, Chris Wright, he recently discussed the latest impacts of this government shutdown, of course, the Democrat shutdown. This was from Nevada, a national security site. He also spoke about the role Nevada's leaders can play in reopening the government. Let's take a look at that video.
It's great to be here in the wonderful state of Nevada that has been key to our national nuclear security since the start of our nuclear program and all the way through today. Unfortunately, I'm here in far less than ideal circumstances. Unfortunately, we were forced today to furlough federal employees, virtually all of our federal employees that work at this office here. The majority of the work are contractors in our efforts in Nevada. Over 3,000 workers are at our site, the Nevada nuclear security sites north of here, where we'll be headed next. We worked within the Trump administration, across the administration, in the DOE and OMB, to find creative ways to keep funding, to keep our contractors employed, at least through the end of the month. This is critical for 2 reasons. Number one, this is thousands of families that are working hard, patriots, to support our country and build the systems that are critical to protect the sovereignty of our nation. We want to keep those families employed and keep the stress level as low as possible. Number two, it is our national security. These are jobs of great gravity. We need to maintain our nuclear stockpile, have our adversaries confident that we have our stuff together, we have a secure and ready to deploy at a moment's notice stockpile. Testing, when we developed our stockpile, underground testings of nuclear devices were conducted here in Nevada. Fortunately, we stopped that over 30 years ago, and we have gone to a more high-tech simulation and small-scale but non-nuclear explosions to research and maintain our stockpile. This work is critical. The humans working on it are critical. We need to open the federal government as quickly as we can to assure we don't overly impact the lives of thousands and soon tens of thousands of employees who are critical to our security. And we need to take our national security seriously. The Republican bill is a clean spending bill. It just continues the spending levels exactly as they were before. This is a Biden budget that has been continued on through continuing resolutions to today. Fortunately, we've had bipartisan votes and majority votes in both the House and the Senate to keep our government open, including one of the great senators here in Nevada, Senator Cortez Masto. I thank her for her courage and for standing with our workers here in Nevada and with our country's national security. The other Nevada Senator, Rosen, has also been a stalwart supporter of the Nevada nuclear security sites and the workers here. And her last vote, she abstained. I think she wants to vote with us. I think she's going to be part of reopening the government. If you can call or reach out to her, that would be helpful. We want to get the government open as soon as we can. We want to keep all the families employed, and we want to keep on top of the critical work to not only maintain our existing nuclear stockpile, but push forward our efforts to modernize and advance that. I thank everyone for being here, and I'll take any questions you have.
All right, if you have a question, just raise your hand and state your name and outlet.
Ricardo with the Las Vegas Review Journal. Can you break down how many employees were furloughed? Was it clear 3,000 total, but how many employees here?
So unfortunately, we have run out of federal funds for federal workers. So here it's 68 employees were furloughed today, but all of the federal workers that we have here. Across the National Nuclear Security Administration, we've had to furlough 1,400 employees across the country. This has never happened before. The NNSA, our umbrella organization, it's been grouped together for 25 years. We've never furloughed workers in the NNSA. This should not happen. But this was as long as we could stretch the funding for the federal workers. We were able to do some gymnastics and stretch it further for the contractors.
Yes.
So the ultimate guarantor of the United States sovereignty is our nuclear arsenal. The work in Nevada was critical in designing and developing those weapons, and today we need to maintain them. We need to make sure they're all in ready working order. We need to understand when it's time to rotate out and replace weapons. A critical work for that is done here in Nevada. We also have work here to try to sense any nuclear materials that go missing, the terrorists or state actors that are trouble. We have key expertise here in monitoring those kind of activities. We also work in cybersecurity. We also work in next generation design of weapons and testing of systems up north at the Nevada nuclear security sites. So a lot of critical work here is done in Nevada. And of course, this is hard work. It takes expertise, it takes commitment. And we've assembled such a tremendous workforce that are both union and non-union. Some are contractors, some are federal government employees, but you have expertise and you have a workforce that's working well together. The last thing we want to do is see that workforce disrupted. If people are out of work too long, they go get other jobs. That's a loss to our country, that's a loss to those families.
Over here, sir. Name and outlet, please.
Josh Figueroa with Channel 8. How do you bring Nevadans, people who live in southern Nevada, the effect of what it means to have the government shut down? And I say that because some people say, well, it's not affecting my direct life right now, right? I work on the hotel casino strip. I work at a industry unrelated to the Department of Energy, but how would you bring that message to some local Nevadans who may not feel the impact themselves of the actual shutdown?
Yeah, and look, of course, the Trump administration has worked hard every day to try to minimize those effects. You know, we did everything we could to keep our federal workers here employed as long as possible, but unfortunately, today is the day our ability to deploy funds to pay those workers ended. So this is the start of federal furloughs in the NNSA, and we have far more, over 3,000 contractors working here in the state of Nevada, and they're in a different status, and we can use different funds to pay them. I spoke with a number of great workers earlier today that have raised families, children, grandchildren, and lives that are at risk. Their jobs and careers are at risk. That's stress in front of families. We want to reduce that stress. And I also say beyond the direct families, think of our adversaries abroad. This is among the most critical workers in our country. They test, maintain, and ultimately construct the modernized version of our nuclear stockpile. We need to take that deathly serious. We've never had to furlough workers in this area before. We need to end this as soon as possible. Again, I thank Senator Cortez Masto, and I plead to Senator Rosen, who has stood for these workers and has stood for the importance of our nuclear security, to move her vote from abstain to in favor of continuing the funding. Of course, there's going to be debates and negotiations about particular spending bills. That's what the House and Senate are all about. But let's do it with the government open, with all of our workers being paid, and with all of our critical national security work moving forward.
Other questions? Secretary Honors, the contractors continue to pay at the end of the month. If this shutdown continues past that date, do you anticipate that those contractors will have to evaluate and start shutting down those?
That is exactly the risk. You know, I thought we would be starting to do that today. It's only on Friday and over the weekend. I would say the great creative work of the Trump administration about we cannot let these workers go. We have about 100,000 total contractors in the Department of Energy across our national labs and our nuclear complex. We want to keep all those people employed. But yes, if the creative extra funding we found, when it runs out, it'll be layered at different locations, but tens of thousands of critical workers, their families, and our national security become at risk. We should not be playing games with this. This is Chuck Schumer worried about his personal primary. This is one person who thinks we've got to do something. No matter how hapless it is, no matter how destructive it is for our country, we have to do something to look relevant. We got to think about our country first and our families first.
All right, any other questions? Anyone else?
There's some discussion about potentially carving out some exceptions for some people, such as people in aviation, for example, flight controllers. Is there any discussion about how we could do the same thing for nuclear workers?
There is. And of course, there are people that it's too risky, even in the short run, to not have. So there will be carve-outs. We did not furlough everyone at NNSA, but we did furlough the large majority. But there is a certain number of mission-critical folks that are still working. And the same will be true for contractors. But in both cases, the large majority will be furloughed. And we're going to do everything we can to avoid that outcome.
Tigers.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 2025 NAIA Men's College World Series champions, the LSU Shreveport Pilots. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, accompanied by LSU Tigers head coach Jay Johnson and LSU Shreveport Pilots head coach Brad Neffendorf.
Group of people. Wow, it's great. Two pretty good coaches, right? Absolutely. I'd say so. A lot of good coaches up here. Well, I want to thank you. It's a special place to me, a special state. As you know, we won it by 36 points or some ridiculous numbers like that. And so when I was asked to do this, I said, "This is my honor. Please sit down. We'll have a little fun, okay?" Thank you all very much. Great group of people. This place is crowded. You got a lot of fans. Who do you think is going to make it into the major leagues? Raise your hand if you think that. I guarantee a lot of them when you hear about their records and their conquests. I want to just begin by saying that we're joined today two collegiate championship baseball teams from the great state of Louisiana, two teams that were absolutely the top. Both of these teams brought incredible pride and grit and glory to their schools, for the state, and today they're bringing that same Louisiana spirit to a place called the White House. Has anyone heard of it, huh? You know, we're building right behind us, we're building a ballroom. They've wanted a ballroom for 150 years, and I'm giving that honor to this wonderful place. I think we should do it. This was the ballroom. And this room holds 88 people, and the new one will hold 999 people, which is a difference. I say 999 because I didn't want to crack 1,000. I didn't want people to get concerned because that's getting big. But we're going to have we'll have the most beautiful ballroom in the country. It's going on, and for those that are interested, we got to get back to baseball. But you see the gold drapes? That's a knockout panel. We knock it in. You go. That comes out. And then you have essentially glass and exactly in the decor of the White House. I didn't know I'd be standing here right now because right on the other side, you have a lot of construction going on, which you might hear periodically. But that's a knockout panel, and that goes right into the ballroom, and the ballroom's going to be beautiful. So you'll have drinks, cocktails, everything on this floor, and then they'll say, "Welcome to dinner." You walk into the ballroom, Mr. Senators, and you're going to see a ballroom the likes of which I don't think it'll be topped. It'll be the finest. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I just started. And it just started today, so that's good luck. We want the same luck that they had and the same talent. but I'm thrilled to welcome the 2025 NCAA College World Series champions. That's pretty good. The Louisiana State University Tigers. So where are you guys? Great. And of course, we have the 2025 NAIA Baseball National Champions, the LSU Shreveport Pilots. So those two teams, you'll hear about them in a second. And I want to thank the Tigers head coach, Jay Johnson, who I just met. These are great coaches, who led the team to its second championship win in just 3 years, and also is the LSU Shreveport head coach, Brad Neffendorf, who is the College Baseball Foundation's 2025 Coach of the Year. Not bad. I think we should bring them into government. They don't need the baseball. We could bring them into government. We could definitely use them. We're also honored to be joined by the incredible duo from Louisiana, Speaker Mike Johnson. As you know, Mike is phenomenal. The job he's doing is phenomenal. And House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, a very brave man, Very Steve. Hi, Steve. Two great guys. You know, Steve is very brave, though. He was badly hurt, and they put him at second base. Did you ever hear of Bobby Richardson? He had great depth. He had great range. He could go all over. He was with the Yankees for many years, and I don't know, he came from around your area, I think, Bobby Richardson. He was second baseman for the Yankees for many years. So he was known for unbelievable. He'd feel balls at shortstop when they were hit. It was great. And when Steve was so badly injured, you know about that. Nobody ever really suffered like that. We thought he was a goner. Actually, I went to the hospital that night. But he came back, and a few months later, he's standing at second base, and he was having a hard time moving. I wouldn't say he had Bobby Richardson's range. Do you agree with that? And he was having a little bit of a hard time. He was coming out. It was really a very bad experience for him. So he's standing in the stadium over here, the Washington Stadium, and a ball is smashed to him. The first pitch of the game, he's at second base, and he wasn't looking to be a hero. And he dropped to his knees, and he stopped it, and that was a hard hit. This happened from God. The first pitch of the game, it's ripped. You know what I'm talking about, Mr. Governor. The ball is ripped to him, hard ground ball. He falls to his knees, he blocks it, he grabs it, he throws it to first. They got him out. Nobody could believe it. Nobody could believe it. And they immediately took him out of the game because there was going to be no way, right? There was no way you were going to top it. It could only go down from there, right, Steve? And I said, this is amazing, but it was really something. We're also pleased to be joined by two wonderful people, senators, your senators, Bill Cassidy and John Kennedy. Thank you both for being here. Appreciate it very much. Very, very much. A lot of good political people in that state. It's been known for politics, I think. I would say politics, baseball, and football, a little bit of football too, right? Representative Julia Letlow. Julia? Hi, Julia. How are you? Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry, who we had a lot of luck with, right? You won that campaign. It was beautiful. And his wife, Sharon. Thank you very much. Hi, Sharon. Nice to see you, Sharon. And all of the other Louisiana fans and politicians. You have so many political leaders. I want to just thank you all for being here. It's a great tribute to this team, to these two great teams. Very rare that you have two teams in one room. You might have them, but they're not from the same state. What is it with baseball? What is that, Coach? What do you figure that is? Just has it, right? Pretty good. I tell you, it's pretty amazing. Two amazing seasons, two incredible teams to celebrate. So let's start with the Tigers, okay? Throughout their 2025 season, the LSU Tigers delivered some of the most electrifying moments in the history of college baseball and ended with a phenomenal record of 53 wins and just 15 losses. That's pretty good. I'd like to have that in the major leagues. You finished the year with an 8-game win streak and a 2-game series sweep. against Coastal Carolina in the College World Series Finals to take the title. That's the 8th national baseball title in LSU history. That's amazing, actually. That's now, LSU's pitching staff was the best in the conference, leading the nation with 760 strikeouts. Cade Anderson was ranked college baseball's #1 player on the mound. I would like to represent him. I'm leaving the White House immediately. Oh, the money. Oh, somebody's going to make some. Where's Cade? Where is Cade? Where are you, Cade? Come here, Cade. Boy, oh boy, would I like to be doing that, huh? 180 strikeouts, that's a lot. That's almost a record. In Game 1 of the championships, he pitched a complete game shutout, preventing Coastal Carolina from scoring, even though they had one of the best offensive teams in all of baseball. Even a single run they couldn't get, so it's no wonder he was named the College World Series Most Outstanding Player. Cade, thank you very much, Cade, and it's great to have you at the White House. We like winners at the White House, Cade. To advance to the regional championship, LSU faced Dallas Baptist, supposed to be a great team. An outfielder, Chris Stanfield, was, they say, unstoppable. He built an early game momentum with a second-inning home run, contributed multiple RBIs, and brought in an additional run with a sacrifice ground out at the end of the game. And you ended up winning the game, so I think your last sacrifice didn't matter too much because they won the game 12-0. That's not too bad. Where are you? Where are you? Well, look at this guy, huh? Is he that good a player? Was he good? Pretty good, huh? That's a good team. So to advance to the regional championship, LSU, and if you look at it, LSU has turned out to be named one of the best teams over the last 10 years, according to the experts, of which there are many, but most of them can't play very well, right? Back in Baton Rouge, you had a tense Game 1 on the Super Regional West against West Virginia, with a full court in a fifth inning, a full count in the fifth inning. The bases were loaded, and sophomore shortstop Stephen Milam launched the ball deep over right center field, securing a grand slam and adding 4 runs to the numbers already up substantially. West Virginia began to mount a comeback in the 6th, but Josh Pearson smashed another grand slam over the wall, carrying the Tigers to victory. So, Josh, where are you? And where, let's see, Malum, where is Malum? Guys have very strong hands, I'm noticing, you know. They're ripping me. They're ripping my hand up. These are strong people. You don't hit those home runs without strong, beautiful hands. You agree with that, Mr. Speaker? How was your baseball? Okay, not bad. Not quite as good. First baseman Jared Jones had one of the most iconic outings of the season during the June 14th, my birthday, College World Series. Thank you very much. Thank you. Flag Day. That was Flag Day. You know that, right? Against the Arkansas Razorbacks. After knocking a home run out of the park earlier in the game, Jared walked up to the plate in the bottom of the 9th with 2 outs, and the score was tied, and they looked like he could be in trouble. And a runner was in second with a 2-1 count. He hit a line drive up the middle, giving the Tigers enough time to rack up a 6th run, sending them straight to the finals, and the rest is history. You know what happened. 10 players of this elite squad are now headed to even greater glory in the Major League Baseball. I think you're going to do all right. I would like to represent every single one. No, I mean, the team must be incredible. Cade Anderson was drafted by the Seattle Mariners, so I think, aren't they playing a big game tonight or something like that? Are you going to be watching that? Cade, I think so. You better be watching. I'm so busy I don't get to watch baseball too much. I did watch the other night, however. I turned on, and there happened to be a Japanese player who was not bad. He was one of the best pitchers I've ever seen, one of the best hitters I've ever seen, and that all makes for a nice contract. He's pretty good, right? Pretty amazing when you think. They say one of the best games ever played because you had pitching and hitting at this with the same guy. Pretty exciting. Chase Shores was drafted by the Los Angeles Angels. Where's Chase? Where's Chase? Good. Wow, nice big tall guy. Very good. Good. Anthony Ironson and Jacob Mayers were drafted by the Boston Red Sox. Boy, you have good. Where is Anthony? Is Anthony here? Anthony right here? Good luck, huh? Good. Good team. Good team. And Ethan Frey was drafted by the Houston Astros. Another good team. They win a lot, right? Where is he? Where is that guy, huh? Good luck, huh? You feel confident? Good. Daniel Dickerson were drafted by the Milwaukee Brewers. Where's Daniel? Congratulations. Good luck, huh? Great. Jared Jones was drafted by the Pittsburgh Pirates. Jared, congratulations. Yeah. And Cade Woods, who's not present, who wanted to be here so badly, had a problem, was drafted by the Atlanta Braves. That's fantastic. I mean, that's a lot of talent. By the way, we have somebody here who was drafted in another sport, number one at everything. He was never drafted number 2 or 3. The great Herschel Walker is here, I understand. Where's Herschel? Where's Herschel? Come here. Come here, Herschel. I'm not sure that LSU loves this guy, but they do respect him. There's nobody like, come here. You want to say a couple of words about baseball players? Go ahead.
Hello there, how you doing?
I saw him sitting out there. I said, come on, Herschel.
You know, I absolutely love this president, but I didn't ask him to put me on the spot. But anyway, I just want to tell the players, continue to have that determination that you had in baseball carried throughout your life. Because things may get tough, but remember, you can always get up no matter whatever happens, gets up, and continue to fight, all right?
So Connor, thanks, Herschel. What a player he was, huh? Oh, boy. Couldn't stop him. He'd go around you, but if he couldn't go around you, because he'd go right through you, and he'd carry 4 guys on his back for as much as he needed. Nobody better. I think maybe the best in history in college, and he had a great career in the NFL, too, and he's a great person. And now he's going to be the ambassador. Come on, name the country, Herschel. He's going to be in the tough job. That's a tough job, right? We'd like to have that job a little bit. We're leaving tonight. Connor Ware was drafted by the New York Mets. Connor, where are you, Connor? Boy, that's a hell of a team. And Luis Hernandez will be joining the Minnesota Twins organization. So I just want to congratulate Luis. Where are you, Luis? Congratulations. I've never seen a team with so many people being drafted into the major leagues. It cannot be a bad team. In fact, I think your record should have been better. That's a hell of a record. So we also have a second amazing team with a big win to celebrate today, the LSU Shreveport Pilots. This year, the Pilots became the first and only college baseball team in history to go a full season totally undefeated. You have... That's not bad. Well, I want these two teams to play. You want to do it? I'll do it. We'll get the stadium. I'll pay for it. What the hell? But you had an astounding record of 59 wins and no losses. What the hell is with that? It's in baseball, normally you have like a little bad luck. You lose a game or two. That's pretty good. You have to say that he did a good job.
Pretty darn good.
He did a good job.
Congratulations. Two great coaches, two great people, too. You also became the first team in the history of LSU Shreveport to bring home a national title. Head coach Brad Neffendorf deserves a special recognition. The Pilots have been in every NAIA national tournament over the past 2 decades. That's pretty amazing, but they never brought home the title until Brad came along. And so Coach of the Year and all of that stuff, these two coaches are unbelievable, the top of the line. And I'll be honest, you know, I watch Major League Baseball and other sports, and they keep hiring the same coaches over and over again, right? They get fired, then they hire them again. I'd hire these two guys, but I don't want to take them away from your school, so I'm only kidding. Just pretend. I'll end up, you'll all leave, say, that was terrible. You know, they'll both be hired. I'll tell you what, they do a great job, too. During the Red River Athletic Conference Awards, 14 members of the Pilots team received all conference team honors, and 6 players were selected Gold Glove team for excellent defense. I can imagine. Isaac Rodey was named Conference Pitcher of the Year for a crushing league with, think of this, a 12-0 record and 114 strikeouts. How about that? 12-0 is not bad. And Kobe Reeves, a left-handed pitcher, was honored as the conference's newcomer of the year. So where are you two guys? You're over here, right? That's a fantastic thing. This team fought hard all the way through the last game of the season, the NAIA National Championship against Southeastern University, which supposedly is a great opponent, and your, frankly, opponents quickly took the lead in the first 2 innings, but you refused to fold or quit or do the thing that we're used to seeing a lot of people do in Washington. They quit, they fold. We don't fold, do we, huh? We don't fold. Jose Saloren, who is supposed to be a terrific prospect for the future, drove in 2, and Anthony Swenda scored on a wild pitch. In the next inning, the game was tied. Where's Anthony? Is he here? Anthony, good going. Come here, Anthony. Get over here. Southeastern pulled ahead again, but the Pilots answered in a thunderous fashion. Home runs by Jackson Searing and Ian Montz, and they say they're tremendous prospects also. And clutch RBIs from Ryan Davenport and Austin Gome turned the tide very quickly. By the 8th inning, the Pilots were in full command, adding 3 more runs before slamming the door shut. When it was over, the scoreboard read 13-7, and the Pilots were national champions. Wow, that's great, fellas. So together, how about the record of these two teams together? You know, you put them together, you win. I think you win the World Series, period. A lot of you are going to be in Major League Baseball. We'll be watching you for a long time to come, and it's amazing. Great athletes, great-looking, young, wonderful people. Together, these teams made history and won Louisiana's unparalleled glory on the college baseball diamond, dominating not 1 but 2 leagues in a single year. Think of that. You dominated each league. You dominated. It's pretty unheard of. But there is something about your state. You're really special state. And when you look at the kind of love here, you get a lot of the parents here that are so proud of what they have produced. Some of them are thinking about dollar signs. They're saying, others are just saying, how handsome is my son, right? But regardless, I just think it's amazing. It's a great tribute to the state. And I want to introduce now, to say a few words, another winner. He's taken over a situation where we had a majority of 2. Nobody knows what a majority of 2. We actually had a couple of moments where we were a majority of 1 person, and I said, you know, and it was terrible that I said this, but I said it. I said, Speaker, we're 1 heart attack away from losing the majority, right? And the Speaker said, please, I don't want to think about that. But we hung in, right, Steve? We hung in, and we got everything we wanted, the great, big, beautiful deal, the biggest ever produced. Think of it, with a majority of, I guess at that time we were like a majority of 4. And I had to make calls at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock. You don't want to do this, fellas. Just keep playing baseball. It's more fun. I got a call from the speaker, sir, we have 7 hard no's. And I'd say, that's not good. This was at 3 in the morning. We needed the vote by early in the morning. And I had to call people at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. I'd say, Jim, he'd say, you have my vote, sir. No, I thought he was a hard no. He just wanted me to call him. Then I'd call another one. Hi, Jack. It's 3:14 in the morning. Hi, Jack. Sir, you have my vote. Oh. So the hard no's turned out not to be that hard, John. They were just wanted me to call them, you know. They couldn't just raise their hand like they're supposed to. They wanted me to call. And we ended up winning, and it's the single biggest bill ever passed in the history of Congress, because we ultimately got the Senate too. And what we don't want to say is that it's actually so full of things. I mean, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, the biggest tax cut in history, the biggest deductions ever taken, job-producing deductions, $50 billion to rural hospitals. We took care of Medicaid, Medicare, we took care of everything. And we did something that people didn't know. We didn't know where we'd stand in a year or 2 years from now. So we put every single thing that we wanted in that bill for 4 years. So we don't need any more votes. All we want to do is have a vote of continuation. And it's the first time in history that a group has not voted for continuation. So they have what's called a Trump derangement problem. Have you heard about that problem? Because that's the only reason this could be possible. But I think we're doing very well. I think they're going to have no choice but to go along because the country is setting records in every way, and people want it to continue that way. So we're hoping the Democrats become much less deranged and that we will get the vote pretty soon. And I hear they're starting to feel that way, too. They're starting to feel like they really have to do what's right for the country, and they will. But I want to just introduce Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. He's fantastic. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I'll be very brief. We want to thank you for being such a gracious host and having us out to recognize this excellence, and it really is. Louisiana's punching way above our weight limit, and this is the pride of the state right now. These guys behind me, they worked so hard, and they did it with class, Mr. President. They had grit and determination and integrity, and it's so good to see that pay off. And Louisiana's, as you said, a special state filled with great people, great fan base. The parents are part of that. You have the Board of Supervisors and the board over the LSU system. And we recognize South and North Louisiana delivering these great titles, great championships, and it's really been something. And we want to thank you for your tremendous record and all you're doing right now. I mean, this president has not only reduced taxes, as we said, we've cut fraud, waste, and abuse out of government. He's solved the border crisis. He's solving the crime crisis. Oh, that's right. He's also resolving wars around the world, but he still takes time. That's right. He still takes time to recognize the leaders of the next generation, and that means so much to all of us. I know it does. I have a personal connection to both schools, sir. You know, I'm a double alum from LSU and Baton Rouge, undergrad and law school. My daughter's the same. She's sitting here with me, Hannah. But I grew up in the shadow of LSUS, literally just south of the campus. We lived in a little neighborhood there, and I used to go play baseball on the field over there at the school. So this really runs deep for all of us, and it means so much to us. It means so much to us that you're here to help celebrate. And I get the honor of introducing the first of the two coaches to speak, and both of these men are extraordinary. Their records speak for themselves, the way they've led these young guys, the way that they've shown them the way. I've loved the demeanor of both of these gentlemen and how they do it. They're extraordinary coaches, and they could coach in the majors, you're right. But we hope they stay where they are for just a little while longer. But I'm going to recognize the first one here, and there's a lot of reasons why Coach Jay Johnson is recognized as one of the greatest coaches. Because he does so well. He has all-star recruiting classes because he's able to go out and do that so well. He has elite pitching development. He's had an incredible record of postseason success, as you all know. And as was noted, he's brought home not one but 2 titles in 3 years to LSU, which is a historic legacy that we have. I was there in the 90s when we were winning these things, and it's great to be doing it again. The 7th and 8th national titles now delivered by one of our favorite people, and we're delighted. I'm delighted to welcome him. Let's say a few words, if you will. Coach Jay Johnson, thank you so much.
Mr. President, thank you for having us in your home. I think the main thing I take away from you is work ethic, something we preach, and nobody works harder for America than you. So thank you for setting a good example. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Leader, thank you so much for getting us here. It's an honor. It's an honor of a lifetime to be in the house of the greatest country in the world, and these guys had to do it on the field to make that happen, but we're here because of your efforts, and to have Louisiana so well represented by you two is outstanding. We are the college baseball capital of the world for 2025. Well represented in Washington as well. Governor Landry, I hear we're coming to your house tomorrow night, and we're really fired up about that, so thank you for having us. It's awesome. About 34 games into the year last year, I just started telling these guys I could coach this team forever. And I could do it because they embodied our mission, and our mission for the season last year was tough and together. To have the mental toughness to, no matter the circumstances, keep your head, execute your job at the highest level. They were the best in the country at that. And then the togetherness. You heard about all the draft picks. All these guys have their entire lives and world in front of them, but they made it about winning. They made it about LSU, and they made it about the team. And there's the honor of my lifetime to coach this national championship team and to be the coach at LSU. So I want to thank my team on this national stage, because not only were they the national champions, they're the best baseball team in America last year. So thank you guys. So I thought we did well, but this man did pretty well at 59-0. So I'm going to turn it over to him. Coach Neffendorf, great job. And it's an honor to share the stage with you and your championship team as well.
First off, I want to speak on behalf of our university administration and our athletic department for such a wonderful day, and our coaching staff and our players for which we are recognizing here today. We're extremely honored to be here, excited, and I know our guys have been jacked up about it. Not only just for the recognition, but you guys are recognizing the way where they get to be together one more time, and that says that for both teams up here, and no better way to do that. I could sit up here and talk to you about our team all day long. What I can't talk to, and it gets tough at times to answer, is how we didn't lose a game. The only thing that I can sit up here and talk to you about is what they did to put themselves in position to, at the end of the year, have not lost a game and won a national title. There was one word with these guys, and it was investment. They were invested in absolutely everything that, not only that we asked them to do, but most importantly, they were invested in each other. We always talk every year when we get these guys and we get together in the fall, because the roster can turn over and things can reset, about how quick can we become a team. And there's rosters out there that don't become teams. And this group went from a roster to a team so incredibly quick, it made the lives of us coaching staff just that much easier. We just did what we could to get the heck out of the way and let them go. I've never seen a group with the word investment, turn over to a word called impact. With that investment, they impacted so many people from the university to the city, and I can truthfully sit up here and tell you they impacted myself and our coaching staff more than anybody else. Just like Jay, I want to thank our guys for what they did. I can't thank them enough. Just the impact that they had on everybody around them was truly unbelievable, and I can speak to that's why they put themselves in position to play for a national title. The one thing that I'm going to, Jay said it and others have said, this isn't about just one program, though, today. Obviously, LSU, if you think about baseball in the state of Louisiana, and I have for years, you think about LSU. Very historic program, built out a lot of success. And what they've been able to do twice in the last 3 years. You can take what Jay said and you can add on a lot, I'm sure, what I've said about the word investment and impact and whatnot. To be able to win 2 in the last 3 years in Division I baseball in the landscape that we have right now is incredible to me. But I can also say, when you added what LSU Shreveport has now done, my point with this whole thing, and it goes back to what Jay said as well, baseball and college baseball right now is in the state of Louisiana. I don't think there's any better place for what's going on and how it's going on. So that's how I'll end with what I've got today. I want to personally thank President Trump, Speaker Johnson, everybody involved. We can't thank you enough for having us here. It's one of the greatest things that, these guys are ever going to be able to be a part of. And with that said, we have some gifts that we would like to present over.
right, there you go, watching live coverage from the White House. Congratulations to both teams there, LSU Tigers and the LSU Shreveport Pilots, who went 59-0. In other news that we're tracking here at Right Side at 4:57 Eastern Time here on Monday, October 20th, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has ruled that President Trump can deploy the National Guard to Portland to assist in protecting federal property amid ongoing protests there. We're also tracking that the representative Anna Paulina Luna has posted receipts about the financiers of the No Kings protest. Take a look at that. Quite the dollar amount for all of those groups there. The Arabella Advisors, Warren Buffett, the Ford Network, Rockefeller, George Soros Network, Tides Network, again, totaling nearly $295 million given to leftist groups for yesterday's fake No Kings protests. A lot of news going on. Great to see the president there. Great to see the two teams. Great to see the White House. And it's also great to see some indictments starting to trickle in when it comes to those that have broken the law, with the receipts and the evidence that's out there that have come against we the people, our president. Even though we're covering a baseball story today, still very serious matters at hand here in this country. Hopefully you had a great day, though. We got to see the Prime Minister of Australia with the president earlier on the first broadcast. Great coverage by Robert McNeely. Of course, this is the second live stream of the day. We have a lot more news coming up, of course, throughout the week. So for all of us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.